Sarah Smith is a Canadian roots rock songwriter and performer who's been on stages with Melissa Etheridge and travels the world to bring people music. She's been awarded over 25 independent music awards in her career, and she wants to help people through music. That is her mission. Her message is one of honesty, gratitude, healing, and love. And today she's sharing her personal journey with us, her story, how she got to where she is today. So tune in. It's going to be one you're not going to want to miss. Welcome to the Sober Living Stories podcast. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of sobriety. We shine a spotlight on individuals who have faced the challenges of alcoholism and addiction and are today living out their best lives sober. Each guest has experienced incredible transformation and are here to share their story with you. I'm Jessica Stipanovic, your host. Join me each week as guests from all walks of life share their stories to inspire and provide hope to those who need it most. Welcome to another episode of the Sober Living Stories podcast. Meet Sarah Smith. She lives on a quiet island in British Columbia, Canada, yet she lives for music. She's a singer, songwriter, and performer who tours the world to help people through music. Today, she's going to share her personal story. Welcome, Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you for having me. It's a real privilege to be able to sit in a chair with somebody and talk about my sober journey. What a journey to get here.
Yeah, we often talk about how sobriety for some people who need that, it's a bridge back to their life. And, I'd love to hear, you have had a very successful career. You're still going, you're touring right now. You're in Ontario. I just want to hear your personal story, how from the very beginning to where it brought you today in your journey through music.
Oh my goodness, Jessica. For me, my adult life was comprised of half sobriety and half given her in the rock and roll, sex, drugs, rock and roll industry, So I was always sort of teeter-tottering between being clean and sober and falling off the wagon and partying all night long and meeting people in that journey as well. How it all started, I grew up in a really beautiful home. I had loving parents that are still together to this day. And my mom was a big part of the church, and my dad was a farmer. And it was a really just a simple life, but with the small town farm type life, you get a lot of, you want to fit in. If you don't fit in a small town, life can be pretty dreary. So I did my best to host a lot of parties and just, be that social butterfly and friend to as many people as I could. And in high school, my drinking really began and my partying began then. And we were the family that hosted the parties, even though maybe my parents didn't know about the parties.
Mm-hmm.
We were that farm that hosted the parties.
Mm-hmm.
My parents could sleep through anything, I tell you. But
so similar already,
yeah.
Sarah.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, I can't wait to hear the rest of the story. Yeah.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of where my singing sort of took off too, was I would, get enough courage in me through alcohol and drugs that I would be able to sit around a campfire and start playing people my music, my original songs that I wrote from my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And where else, uh, people loved them. They loved the songs, and they gave me encouragement to keep going. And I felt like, oh my God, I found something that people respect in me, and that I can do something great, like write a song. How awesome is that? And out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I didn't want to spend a lot of money on university. And I actually ended up going to Royal Military College, which is a university that pays you because you're in the military.
Wow. Uh-huh.
So I did that, and that's where the drinking career really became like accepted. So many people in the military just accepted. It was like a bonding experience where you would meet in the mess hall and you would just get wasted, and that was part of our journey in the military. And thank God, I have a lot of these I call them God moments where there's something that happens in my life that takes me on the journey I'm meant to be on. And this happened in an elevator with one of my officers, and he said to me, Officer Cadet Smith, you're doing great. It's great to have you on board, but why aren't you doing music?
Wow.
I said, like, what do you mean, like doing music? I don't even know what you mean. I grew up on a farm and that really wasn't an option. And he said, you can have a career in music. You can follow your heart and you can do that. And so I honestly marched into I don't remember the guy's name or anything, but it was the head of the military platoon I was in. And I marched into that office and I saluted him and I said, I'm going to quit.
Wow. Uh-huh.
And I quit the next day
Well,
and
thank
I
God
joined
for
it.
that man, huh? That
I
message in
know,
an elevator,
I know,
right?
I know, I know.
Giving
And
giving
so,
you permission to like launch your career.
right. And I joined a band a couple weeks later, and I haven't had another job since. I've just
Wow.
been a musician since I was 20. So I'm 46 now. 26 years I've been playing music. And the first band I was in, my guitar player, he was in AA, and I knew that he was in AA and that he was in recovery. And he told me, if you want to make it in music, you have to get sober.
Wow.
And I was only 20, and I thought, well, you know, if I want to make it, I have to get sober. Well, I want to make it. So I got sober and I started going to meetings, and these recovery meetings, just the people were speaking to me,
Mhm.
and I could tell that I was one of them and I felt belonged and accepted. And so for the first 7 years of my career, I was sober and clean. I'd never really tried any heavy drugs at the time, and I was just an innocent young girl trying to make it in music, and I made a lot of friends and fans and had a great career those first 7 years. And then I met a partner and fell in love, and we became like toxic twins,
Mm.
you know. And that's a lot of people, they need that one person that sort of helps them along their journey, whether it's the good side of their journey or the other side of the journey. And so we became the party couple, and I started experimenting with heavy drugs and getting into really the rock star life. I just was partying all the time and staying up late and till like 9 in the morning,
Well,
sleeping the day away,
mhm.
going to my shows at night, staying up till 9 in the morning, sleeping the day away. And those 10 years of using and trying to get sober and trying to get clean and just keep falling off the wagon, and I just could not get clean. Those 10 years were soul darkening. Like,
Mhm.
I've always had this light about me. I've always felt free and able to express light, and I just felt like that was being stripped away from me,
Mhm.
and I felt like my soul was dying, and I felt in my heart super sad and shameful. People looked up to me. They came to my shows. They wanted to hear what I had to sing about, and I was on this stage trying to preach something that I wasn't. I
Mhm.
was a total fraud.
Mhm.
Behind the scenes, I was using drugs and drinking and completely. Um, I couldn't leave my house in the morning without doing what I had to do to to keep my addiction in check. It was a really bad, double life,
Yeah. If we
right?
can just pause for a second, I think listeners can relate to that. I know I certainly can. When you said that, I often refer to my time as like the decade in the darkness, because I was light
Mm.
and I knew all things were possible. But then when I crossed that line, that was all taken away. And I couldn't, I was just grappling, you just grapple, try to get back. And it's just a slippery slope for however long it takes until, you make a change.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it felt like. Like I was slipping down a slope into the darkness and I just didn't know how to climb back out. And the way that I had set my life up now, my lifestyle was all about, you know, partying and being social with people that partied. And it was in my home and in my personal life. Everything was about partying. Every time I went to a gig, I'd have like shots lined up in front of me. And, I would drive home at night. I would get a little help from something and get in the car and away I'd go. And, this one time, another God moment, I was driving and I heard this voice say, "You have to stop." And the voice got louder. "You have to stop. If you don't stop now, you're going to kill someone or yourself." And the voice was so loud that it was the bump I needed to actually quit.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it was such a loud voice that I knew it was something unearthly and that it was warning me of my future. A lot of people have these premeditated warnings,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Can I ask you a question? Because
Yeah.
this is really mind blowing. When I said we were similar, I had no idea you were going there, but that too, as well, like I understand that because that's exactly what happened to me. And the message was, I'm going to give this to you one more time. And it was audible, like I heard it. And please take it. And that was the very last time I drank. That was 19 years ago. And the reason that I did it was something you had just said. You said, I'm going to kill someone else or myself. Like, in the sense of, and that to me was unacceptable. Like, my destructiveness was okay. But when you brought somebody else into it, that's when
Hmm.
I stopped the line and that's when it shifted for me. So I believe you. And I also know that I wonder how many other listeners have had that experience where, you hear something and you internally know it to be what you need to do. So that's really incredible that that happened to you.
It was
So what happened next?
amazing. So, so it was like I was starting to sort of realize that this was the end of my using days. Like it was coming to an end. But the final blow was when I was on stage. I was doing this sold out show in my hometown. It was a CD release party. It was like my dreams had all come true. It was in this big theater, 340 people or something. It was like just a dream. And I was singing these songs and I was, I just felt like all the eyes were going through my soul and they could see the darkness that I had hiding inside me and they could feel my pain instead of the light that I wanted to spread through music. And, um, after the show, I felt so much shame. I put on a good show, everybody was happy, but I wasn't happy. I was super shamed. And I remember just trying to find drugs. So I drove around town and I found some. And I went back to the party where all my friends were. There was like 50 people just ready to hang out and party and celebrate this big show. And I sat in my truck and did drugs the rest of the night. I did not go
Mm-hmm.
in the party. And I said, that's it. I'm done. And the next day, I quit smoking. I quit drinking. I quit using. I quit eating meat. I quit
Wow.
having random sex. I quit. I
Wow.
said, that's it. I'm done. And I haven't looked back in years and years
Wow.
and years.
That's
Mhm.
incredible. And I'm not surprised you went that extreme because that's just so typical of, you know, how we're wired. And wow, that's
Exactly.
incredible. That's incredible.
And since I got sober and clean, like I had to go through, there's pain that comes with that
Sure.
because the reflection, the self-reflection, the introspection, I realized all the people I had hurt along the way. And I thought that the addiction was only hurting me. or
Hmm.
my partner. But it went even deeper, considering what I had done to my partner, to my bandmates, to my friends, to my family. There was a lot of shame, so much shame. Um, I forgave myself. I asked forgiveness of others, and I began to find that light again. Um, you know, for one thing, like sobriety in itself is a huge light. I already felt like just dropping all those substances and allowing myself to open up to this universal power, this energy that can flow through me, love, you know. I started digging into spiritual teachings, even though I was always attracted to spirituality and spiritual teachings. I started living them, breathing them, feeling them, you know, knowing. It was an ultimate knowing that I am being guided on this journey, and that it's a love journey.
Hmm.
And after I dropped the substances, like I was completely vulnerable and open to being led. It was a surrender.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
think, wow,
yeah, yeah,
reconciliation and restoration of, your life when you get sober, it's a road, and not everybody's receptive, but I think the large majority, those who love us are. And wow. So what changed as far as, because you're still singing, you're still performing, you're still touring, so
yeah.
how did you manage that in a drinking world?
I just started focusing all my other than my sobriety and taking care of myself and the ones around me and my family and friends, I started to really focus on my career.
Let's take a moment to hear a recovery story from one of my sponsors. At the age of 25, recently married and a new father, Jack found himself in a Texas rehab facility detoxing. After 10 years of addiction, he was finally able to admit that it was time to get help. Not only did SoberLink allow him to be accountable and track his sobriety, SoberLink allowed Jack to prove to himself and others that he could make the change he had always hoped for. SoberLink is the portable sobriety tracker, taking the recovery world by storm. It has built-in facial recognition, sensors that detect cheating, and instant results sent to contacts. It's the number one accountability tool for keeping yourself honest and rebuilding trust. Visit www.soberlink.com/sober-living and check out the show notes to click the link and receive $50 off your device today. Now back to our guest.
As a singer, I started to want to get better. I wanted to write better songs. I wanted to get other people's stories out there. I started collaborating with others. Um, my voice just like grew exponentially. It is powerful and strong and fierce, and the things I'm singing about, my actual inner voice is coming out, and I get to sing about all these things that I've gone through and all the things I've learned. Um, my career took off. It took off
Oh.
greatly. I started touring around the world, getting getting respect for being a musician, and I started to respect myself. I started to attract working with other people that were on a beautiful plane, a spiritual plane. I started learning from them. Uh, you know, life has really taken off for me. I fell in love with somebody that loves me for who I am, and I know how to give love back as well.
Mm-hmm.
Receiving and giving love is a real gift that's come in sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wow.
yeah,
So what is your message, when you sing, when you're writing songs, when what is it that you want to relate to people, through that?
I want to divinely inspire and help illuminate others' paths along their journey through co-writing, singing, songwriting, collaborating um, with others, and just using music as that tool to let their voice be heard. So I actually have written a lot of songs with other people. People have told me their life stories, or told me they want to write a song for a friend, or they've given me a poem that they find, um, you know, they want to maybe hear it in a song form, and I get to gift that to them. I get
Mm-hmm.
to give them this song that came from physically nothing and has become a physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that that's the biggest gift I've gotten in sobriety.
Wow. Yeah, I've had quite a few guests on the show that take their personal story and turn it into a career, but I haven't ever had anyone who was a singer and a performer and like a complete like rock songwriter touring. And this is great because when I'm not, obviously I don't sing, but I often look at singers and think, wow, they hold their, I'm a writer, but you hold your talent in your voice, and like you said, it's powerful, it's fierce. So you can like relay messages through like that like beauty of your voice. You're bringing it with you wherever you go. So what is it like to perform on stage in front of fans and people who are coming to hear that?
Well, now, Jessica, I just feel like I feel so much gratitude. I feel authentic. I feel like, um, there's this. If you're in a recovery program, there's steps, and there's a prayer called the third step prayer,
Mhm.
and it's about offering your life as a servant, and offering your life, and allowing God or your higher power to do as it will through you. So I always ask, please use me and build with me today and allow me to be a vessel of love. And
Mhm.
that's how I feel. I really do feel like I'm being used as a vessel of love.
Mhm.
And it's authentically beautiful. I do not fear the stage anymore. Of course, I get nervous before every show, but I don't fear the stage. I don't fear people staring through my soul, because I feel like in my soul, it's been there was a lot of damage in there, and now my soul, I feel like it's lighter and it has so much to offer, and I feel like I just feel like better as a human being,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I feel like my music is that tool that's I can share that with others.
Mhm. Mhm. So where can people find you? So you're so balanced and you really found exactly who you are authentically, spiritually. And it's just very evident to me. And I've talked to so many people but your performances are, like you said, like they're really rock star like performances. And you're like, where can people watch you and find you who have not?
Well, I mean, thank you so much, Jessica, for giving us this tool to be able to talk about sobriety and to also, help promote people in this field. And I really appreciate that. You can find me at sarahsmithmusic.com.
Okay.
And you can find me on all the socials and YouTube, Sarah Smith Music everywhere.
And that's Sarah with an H. Sarah, Sarah Smith Music.
That's right.
Dot
Yeah.
com.
And I just started a whole new part of my website that actually I'm offering songwriting collaborations. So if anybody out there would like to try and write a song about their life, or if they have a poem they'd like to put into a song, I just started my website. I've been doing this for about 3 years now, and now it's official.
Wow.
So
Wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that listeners will be able to, you know, have this creative outlet, those that are interested in music and those that are interested in singing, songwriting, because there's so many. It's so interesting to me, just to touch quickly before we end the beginning of your story when you talked about the military. It's like so in contrast to like a rock star living, right? But that is where you got the message to, and almost the permission to honor your creative side. And I find it so crazy in this world how like the straight and narrow, which I think is changing, but the straight and narrow professions that are honored. But then now we have this like blast off of creatives coming out into the world and being honored for whether it's sharing your personal story and helping others heal through community, whether you're a writer and are able to get that book into the world, or whether you're a songwriter and can perform, and there's so many other ways to be creative today that are honored. And I'm so grateful for that because, that our jagged lined, creative brain is allowed to give its message and to be heard. And I love that. And I love that your message was given to you in an elevator and doing something else that you aligned yourself with. We never know what day or what person is going to give us a little bit extra permission to something we probably already knew.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, I want to thank that one person that told me, I'm worried about you and I think you need to get help.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes just one person to say, I care about you and I see you. And that, that can help somebody realize that they're not fooling other people and maybe it's time to get help.
So true. Yeah. And without that, like with accepting that and maybe receiving that, and if you heard that and you were like abrasive to it or reluctant or angry, it's like a clue that maybe should be listened to, because it could delay your progress for years, and so just to kind of have that slight humility to say, wow, they might be right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to put every social media contact, your YouTube channel, sarahsmithmusic.com, your website, in the show notes so that others can reach out to you. And I appreciate you sharing your authentic and personal story with us today.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you for tuning into the Sober Living Stories podcast. If you have been inspired, consider subscribing and sharing with anyone who could use hope in their lives. Remember to stay tuned for more inspiring stories in the episodes to come. To view our featured author of the month or to become a guest yourself, visit www.jessicastipanovic.com.